I'm down to learn some lessons, but like, why do I have to learn such? Why does it feel like I have to just keep learning these giant lessons all the time?
We're alone again. I shouldn't be thinking of you, thinking of me. I know.
Hello, everyone. This is Mike from the dailyBred podcast, the weekly bread, where I give myself some self-diagnosed therapy, because that goes hand in hand with drawing a webcomic. It makes sense. Today's episode is actually called a lyric. Well, it's named after a lyric in one of my songs, but it kind of represents what I'm going to talk about. And I'm a little out of breath. I just went to my apartment building gym and did 20 minutes of working out, so I feel good, even though I feel like I look like crap. So today's episode is called "And Like That It's Over," and this is from a song that I wrote for my band Lane Meyer. I haven't talked about the lyrics of this yet. I don't think. My God, I can't remember. But the lyric, it starts off, and the lyric is "And Like That It's Over," and then it goes into "And Some More Goodbyes for Us to Go Through." So I don't want to talk about the song, but the lyric like popped in my head when I thought about recording this, and I'm not going to talk about why I'm bummed out. I'm just going to talk about that I'm bummed out. And it just kind of represents how you kind of just go through life, and it's usually like kind of this balance of being a little bit to the left where you're happy, a little bit to the right where you're sad. Extreme to the right is where you're depressed. Extreme to the left is probably where you're like doing LSD or heroin or something. So that's probably not too good to be that happy. But I'm kind of teetering more from on the just sad, bummed out side. And this is what it's like to be in the middle of it and to talk about it openly. Because when you're by yourself, you don't have a conversation out loud. You have a conversation in your head, and that just drives you crazy. But it's like attached to like something happens, it just it just kind of, I wouldn't say crushes. That's a bit too much, but it kind of just flattens you, I guess. I mean, crush is a little bit more harsher, but just like flatten, just kind of like you're kind of like, all right. And every day you wake up and the outside setting looks the same depending on the season, right? But there's trees. For me, it's like there's buildings, there's trees, there's the sky. My apartment looks the same, depending if it's messy or not. And whatever I bring to the table is how it's going to be seen and how I'm going to feel about it. And when I'm having a good day and I'm feeling energized by whatever I'm doing or about to do, then everything looks brighter and happier and it feels good. And then when you wake up and you're trying to process something, everything just does not look good. And for me personally, I just feel like I try my best throughout the day to do something to get my mind off of it as much as possible, because I feel flat and the things that I'm doing aren't making me happy because of just this core of thing that happened, and which you can't control. And it just sucks because you open up to having things be good, and then it doesn't go that way, and then you go back into, okay, well, stupid me for trying to make things good. And then you have an argument with yourself like, well, you can't think like that because then you're just defeatist, and that's not going to help. And I don't know. It's like you kind of, like for me, I guess personally, when something happens that's good, I go on this path where the future kind of opens up more, and it's like you look forward to what that's going to be. And then when something doesn't go well, where that door opens and you see that it closes, or it stays open, but that thing that made you think how the future was going to look, that future can't happen. And then you go back to, all right, well, what was I planning on in general? And and then it's like, okay, well, I don't really think about that. So I feel like I get on these waves where, in general, where I'm doing something, it's like I like drawing my comic every day because it gives me, it's a challenge every day to try to think of something to draw and say, whatever it is. And then I put it out there. And then being a person who likes to create, I also have my animation company where that's either I'm working on a project that's paying and I don't really find much joy in that. It's really just a means to an end to make money. And I don't really attach any emotional happiness to that, which is something I'm definitely struggling with, but it's also helping me survive and do the things that I like to do, which really isn't a lot of stuff. Basically, I like to end my day around lately like 5, where last year was like 2, and see what my friends are up to, go out and just live a very just social life. And I like to go out and around town. That's why I like the town that I live in because there's just things you can do. And that's really all I'm focused on. I don't have any ambitions on owning a house. I don't have any ambitions of like growing my company with employees. I don't want these big things. I mean, I would love to make millions and millions of dollars just for the pure fact of security, but I wouldn't live this crazy lifestyle. Like maybe I would do something a little bit different where I'd say like, okay, I'll take a private jet somewhere this weekend or just do whatever I want to. I had that option in front of me, which currently I don't. So, but like, so my point to myself is really just looking at this. I don't really going anywhere. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. I'm just showing up every day. And maybe that's a point to live presently, where the things that give me joy are creating something. Because when I finish it, I feel accomplished, and I will enjoy what I do. And I actually have been like, I like to go back in my Instagram account and find these past comics and like post them to my Instagram story because I have like, oh yeah, I forgot I wrote that. And sometimes I just laugh. I'm like, wow, I actually would find this funny or interesting, and then people like it, and which is great, but it's also kind of that could be fleeting because then you find you're searching for likes, and that is just very unfulfilling. It's that dopamine rush you get, and then it's gone. And I don't really like. I can't imagine. I talked this before, but I can't imagine people with millions of subscribers and they post, and then people comment, and you just have to fucking respond all the time to that many comments, which can be positive comments, which is great. But then you feel like if you don't respond, then that person, then they're gonna be like, they're gonna think you're a dick, and then it's gonna become negative comments, and then you're dealing with that shit. Like I don't know why people set themselves up to want to be this celebritized thing. Like I have this weird thing, like I just like to post stuff. I like to say what's on my mind. Like I have to just constantly get it out there. But what comes with that is people's opinions, and I'm not really good with that, even though I'm opinionated. And I try my best to not express disappointment on other people's things because I know that there's a person behind it. And people forget that. And people are very quick to have their own bullshit show up and to take it out on someone. And then they just say it one time and then they go on their merry way forgetting that they said it. And then that person takes that and they carry it with them for a while and it bothers them. Like no one really thinks about that. So maybe you should if you're one of those people that does that, or you find yourself wanting to do that. You should really just sit on it and shut the fuck up and not put your shit on someone else. But yeah, so just being a person where I live in this space where you put yourself out there, and that kind of is my current goal. And then when this new thing pops into your life and it attaches itself to you, or you attach it to you, you connect with some new direction. It's cool to feel newness and possibility because you're ready for it, and then it just doesn't work out, and then you're like, I was really ready for that. And that sucks that that just doesn't happen. And I think another thing too is that what I've come to realize is I'm sick of how how much weight is put on this existence or like people put on their lives. It doesn't have to be that heavy. It really doesn't. And I know with myself, I don't doesn't have to, I've learned that I don't need to make it that heavy. Like right now, it's like I'm bummed. Yeah, I'm not crushed. I'm not confined to my apartment and don't want to leave and feel that bad. Like I get out, but there's this cloud that just attached to me as I'm walking around, and it shows up. And but I've also strengthened a muscle for disappointment and letdown, and try to find new eyes to deal with it. And it's not crippling, depending on what it is, because I've been through some really heavy shit. So anything else, anything after that kind of seems a little bit lighter, but it's sad and it sucks. And I came home yesterday. I came home last night. I was hanging with some friends, and I don't know where I was listening to this, but I think it was like, oh, it was Kyle Cease. That was it. I think he showed up on my Instagram and he said something like, if you don't follow him, you should. He's got two books out that are really good, and he was the guy in 10 Things I Hate About You. No, I'm sorry, no. Yeah, he was in 10 Things I Hate About You, but he was the clapping guy in Not Another Teen Movie. So he's a really interesting story. He was an actor, he was a comedian when he was a kid, he was an actor, he started being successful and he hated it and he dropped off of that scene and went into being a motivational speaker. And he tried to be like a motivational comedian, got a lot of backlash, but his take on things is pretty cool, because he's very law of attraction based and very universe based. And it's like he's like, yeah, I don't, when people become coaches and motivational speakers and that's their goal, my first reaction is, well, what the fuck did you do to actually become that? Because if you just show up and say, I want to be motivational for people, and your life is a giant shit show, then I don't really know how you're supposed to motivate other people. It's like, I'm going to tell you how to do it so I don't have to do any work, and you're going to pay me hundreds of dollars an hour, because I'm good at visualizing it, but I'm awful at executing. It's like people who get up and they're like, I want to be a speaker. It's like, well, what do you want to talk about? You didn't do anything yet. Unless it's something specific to something they've gone through, then I can appreciate that. But when people get up and just give these, they want to just give a TED talk to give a TED talk for praise. It's gross. It's like that's the worst person to get up there and tell a story. That's just bullshit. Um, but this guy, so that's my interpretation of those people. But this guy, some reason I just gravitate towards him because he talks as an individual and he's still sarcastic, but he's very like I don't want to say motivational. That's just a shit on that. There's something about him. He just kind of catches me with what he says. And he said in his Instagram posts, he's like, when shitty, and I don't know, it's funny how when you're looking for something, these things really do show up, and they really show up fast. And I kind of needed this, I guess, last night, because 2 nights ago I got home and I like fucking broke down. I like just lost my shit. Like just walked in from being out with friends and just, oh man, it must have been like 10, 20 minutes or something, just like losing it. And I think just whatever needed to come out came out. And so when I came home last night, I didn't have that feeling, but he said I forget what he said, but it was like, when you're going through shit, you try to get away from it. He's like, but what you really need to do is bring that in and live in that sadness and don't try to get away from it because that's where you're trying to get taught something. And you really need to learn what it is that your body, your mind is trying to tell you in that moment. And it became kind of comforting because when you are really trying to run away from feeling really bad. And years ago I did that when I sold everything and traveled the country. Like I got divorced and I was just not I was just in a bad spot, and many podcast episodes ago I talk about that. And you can't outrun it because it's glued to you, and you have to figure out what it is. It's like there's a way out of it, and it's either time or it's figuring out, addressing why you're upset. And my thing was that I had to forgive my ex and truly believe that she just made a choice to not be with me. And she chose to be with another guy, and it's as black and white as that. And it kind of goes back to how I say when I wake up in the morning, my day looks exactly the way that I'm making it look. Everything is the same thing. Like look at my apartment, everything here is an inanimate object. And then I'm telling the story about how that's making me feel. So when I got divorced, I in my body expressed how what they did something to me, but they just walked away. They just stopped. And he, once I could address that and swallow that, it truly took time for me to get there. But once I did that, I sat in a room and I forgave her, which I've talked about numerous times. Um, it finally released itself because it's attached to you and it's in there, it's in you, and you can't run away from that. And so like right now, why I'm so upset or sad, not upset. I'm not mad. I'm just sad. Um, I'm just trying to figure out like why that shows up. Like why do I get so sad? And it's like, is that just normal? Just what happens to human beings when something doesn't, something happens that it's not aligned with what you find to be happy or exciting? Or have I watched too much fucking TV where you see something bad happen to somebody? Not bad, when something sad happens, or just the opposite of good happens to somebody, what they're expecting, the way that they deal with it, and they go out and they drive and listen to sad music. It's like maybe I set myself up for so long doing that as a kid that that ritual has come with me into my adult life, and I do that where it's probably the worst thing I can do because it's not the best. It's like if I had a fucking head cold, which it sounds kind of like I do now. I'm just a little stuffy from, I think, the gym. But it's like if I'm sick, if I start just drinking or eating sugary food or something, it's just to try to feel better, but it's not aligned with helping me get better. So it's like if I feel sad, I don't know why, to start feeding myself sad music, or really music is pretty much it. I don't put out like The Notebook or like sad movies just to make myself feel sad. Like I just listen to music, and whatever emotion I'm having right there just feeds into it. Where I should just start cranking really happy songs, but it's almost like I want to be in it. So it's like, why do I want to be in it? What am I getting from that? And it kind of goes back to the Kyle Cease thing where he's like, this is what you have to pay attention to. Your body is telling you something, your mind is telling you something, and it just does it on its own. And it's weird too because it doesn't just come out and say what the hell it is. It's like you have to just let yourself sit with it, and then hopefully the answer comes. And that's kind of what happened when I heard that last night. But I didn't sit down and try to think of it. I think I just ate shitty food and drank beer. So I did the opposite. But I just, I don't know. I just kind of wish that when things go right, they could go right, and not go the opposite of that. It'd be nice to get thrown a bone once in a while where it's like, how many more lessons in this fucking lifetime do I need to learn? Like, I know I don't want to stop at the age of 41 and hopefully live to 100 if the world is, not a sad place, and if I can physically handle that. But I mean, I only have between now and whenever, and it's like, I'm down to learn some lessons, but like, why do I have to learn such? Why does it feel like I have to just keep learning these giant lessons all the time? Is that because I didn't learn it the first time? Like, I'm pretty sure I've learned many things and I've gotten over many humps, and then these things get thrown back in your face, and you're like, Huh. All right. Um, is this just like a test to say like just making sure you're good, just making sure that muscle still works? You're like, yeah, it still works. That's great. Thanks. Still able to bounce back. I just wish I didn't have to constantly do that whenever uh something like this comes up. Um, yeah. So that's this week's episode. It's very jolly. Maybe I just gotta find out what this thing is that this lesson maybe that I haven't learned yet. Um, that I have to keep learning. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's not giving a fuck. Maybe it's I don't know. I would say it's understanding, but I definitely have that. Um, yeah. So I am going to hit stop and go think about things. Actually, I'm gonna go watch college football at a bar because you could do that in Raleigh. You could still go out and hopefully the powers that be let us keep doing that down here in the South. And hopefully I don't know, I hope some kind of thing opens up for me where I start getting excited about some kind of direction, moving forward in some kind of direction, going somewhere, like building on what I'm doing or just feeling a new milestone or feeling a new like win. I'd like a win. I'd like a big win, like a really big fucking win. And I like to have that keep happening. That'd be really nice. Like I feel like I'm a good person that shows up. I try to be, and I really wish that would start kind of I don't know, maybe rewarding that effort. It'd be nice. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think I don't say rewarding. It's not the best way to put that. Like, I think I said in one episode, it's like I wish the world would just kind of throw me a cookie sometimes. Who knows? All right. On that note, go. If you're feeling shitty, maybe you should also try to ask yourself why instead of running away from it. And I'll leave you with that.